Yeah, this video is not going to be easy.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free.
First of all, I want to thank all of you guys for tuning into my channel and watching my garden videos as I post them and put them up. It's a really fun thing for me to do, and I've really enjoyed doing this over this last year. And I really had a lot of really great plans to get this year, just jump in and get started and do some really cool things to get started with. But you know, as many of you have seen who follow through on my Facebook channel and page and all of that, I had a very huge loss in my family, basically. And it's been really kind of hard to get this year started up, but I'm determined. As I've talked about many times in different episodes that I've done already this last year, things get away in our lives and try to hold us back from doing some of the things that we really enjoy. But I really am determined to get this started back up. We will get going. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit the subscribe button. Follow along with future episodes as we do some more things in the garden this year. But I think I want to take a few minutes and tell you a story. Just tell you a story.
What are you doing, Bugaboo? What's going on, Kiki? You come to see what's going on in the garden? Yeah? Find a nice shady spot? Oh yeah.
So as you can already tell, this is going to be a very emotional video for me. I'm going to try to get through it as best as I can. It is just really important for me to tell this story, as many of you who followed my garden channel since we started this last year, she's been a part of a lot of our videos, and she's always around when I'm doing things in the garden here in the alleyway.
What are you doing, bud? You got yourself a nice little spot in the sun, don't you? That's my alley cat.
This alleyway was her home. This is where she loved being. It's where she always was right there by my side as I was learning to garden and put things together here, and just an important part of my experience outdoors here outside this in this alleyway. And I just want to make sure that I tell you all her story and share with you guys how important she was to me here in this garden adventure.
Just want some attention? Is that it? You just want some attention? Huh?
I kind of want to basically start off by, saying that in the long run, I never saw myself as an animal caretaker. Never saw myself having an animal in my home, or for me, I never saw myself taking care of one, a dog or cat. Did have a couple of animals growing up. and a couple that influenced my life. My mom had a cat who passed away many, many years ago, Simon, and that was a kind of an embarking on the idea of how emotional and we can get, or how emotionally attached we can get to our animals that are close to us. But really, I went into my adult life never really thinking of or seeing myself as an animal caretaker. Not at all. I moved down here to Southern Oregon about 6 years ago, and it was during a really tough time in my life. I was going through a lot of hardships, a lot of different things going on, personal and family and all of that, and I was having a really difficult time. And so one night while I was sitting here at home, just probably listening to some music or watching a video on YouTube or something like that, basically just really kind of bummed out about my life, not really into anything really at the time at all. I had just maybe started dabbling into gardening a little bit, to kind of pass some time away a little bit. But I was really down in the dumps. I was really having a hard time in my life. And one night, I just heard this meow, this, cat's meow coming outside of my door. And first time I heard it, I kind of wondered, looked around, didn't pay much attention to it, but that meow kept persistent and really kind of sounded desperate. I went to my back door right here and opened the door up, and right here on my porch, now see, I thought that I was in real kind of trouble myself, personally and emotionally and everything. But when I saw that cat at my doorstep, I was traumatized. And I don't want to really make this out to be too ugly for anybody or anything like that, but when Bug showed up at my door, she was not in good shape. She was not in good shape at all. She was completely emaciated. She was skin and bone, and she was starving, completely starving. She was on my back porch looking up at me, basically telling me that if I didn't do something to help her, that she was going to pass away right there. That's how bad it was. That's how bad it was. So not only as in bad a shape as I was, she was in a lot worse shape, and she needed my help just as much as I needed her help that night. And it was a blessing that she came into my life then. And at that time, we both just kind of were, I don't know, if the world or the universe worked in some sort of way to attract us together. But we needed each other that night, and it was so important that we aligned it with each other that night. And I took her into my bedroom. I laid her down. I got her just little bits of food. I didn't want to feed her too fast, because she was really starving. She really wanted a lot of food too, I remember. But she couldn't move. She had no energy. She basically laid on my bed for about a day and a half.
What are you doing, Bug? How you doing, sweet girl? You enjoying the sun today? It's been a little rainy, hasn't it? Yeah. It's a good day to roll around in the gravel, huh?
After a day and a half or so, she got up and ran completely right out the door. And she was really scared. She was frightened about being inside, and that was one of the things I could initially tell right off the bat. But she was comfortable to a certain extent with people, so I knew that she had been raised or been around people. She had just had some really traumatic things go on at that moment. And I'll tell you here in just a few minutes about what I think went on during the time before she came to my house. I have something I believe, or at least I believe I have kind of a story to go along with that and what I believe. But at the time that she had ran out the door, I basically kind of got the idea that she's an outdoor cat, she's been outdoors, and this and that. So that was kind of the thing. She would come in maybe just a feed or two into the house, and I would feed her a little bit of food just to try to help get her more comfortable about being around me and that sort of thing. And it took a while. It took so long to get that cat to be comfortable, to get used to being around me. She would hide around in different parts around the house. There's a couple of different little places that she liked to get in and hide, and I just coax her out every time she was kind of hungry, and would try to, you know, pet her, and she would let me pet her. She would let me get kind of close to her to a certain extent, but as far as being around the home and all that sort of stuff, you could tell that she was just really kind of frightened about, you know, being inside. One of the first times I remember trying to close the door, she freaked out and couldn't handle it at all. One other thing too, I remember after a few months of taking care of her, she you know, was a little more and more comfortable about being in and around the house and whatnot. And I walked around one day and I stubbed my toe on something, and boy, oh boy, it hurt, and I let out a yell, and I was oh my about my toe, and didn't realize that I had just scared the living daylights out of her. And it took another several months to even get her near around the house again, that comfortable again. And that's how bad off she was at the time. She was really kind of scared, really just not comfortable around people. Or I would say more so not comfortable being around and inside of a house, which leads me up to about what I think that led her to my place. So when Bug arrived at my place, I believe that she was probably around 5 or 6 years old, somewhere around that age. I believe when she was a kitten, she was probably taken care of by a family, and was around people, so she's comfortable around people. She wasn't a feral cat in that sort of way that she was trying to avoid people per se. She was just really kind of scared, it seemed, of being kind of indoors, which kind of led me to another belief about what led her to my place. So as far as I believe, and then this is just my belief, Bug was probably raised by a family that didn't get her fixed and probably allowed her to have a few litters of kittens. And eventually I believe that she was placed in another home. And this is where I think things kind of happened for her. She was probably given to somebody who was older, is what I kind of believe. And they brought her into their home, got her fixed, and were taking care of her. But something happened to whoever it was that was taking care of her. And that's why I kind of believe that it was probably an elderly person who was taking care of her. And in this case, something happened to that person, and Bug was in the home that she was at. And people started coming in and probably removing things and moving stuff out of the home, you know, family members and how they do that sort of stuff after someone passes. And whatever that was that happened probably scared her enough to go hide somewhere in this house. This is kind of what I think happened. She hid somewhere in the house until everybody was gone, and then came out and found herself trapped inside of this home. And probably for several weeks she was stuck inside of this home, as no one knew what to do with that place. And probably was kind of helped going by a dripping faucet, you know, a bathtub or a sink somewhere or whatever. Is I know this because, or I think this because, she really loved to drink out of the bathtub. That's where she got her only source of water. I never seen her drink really anywhere else other than getting out of the bathtub. when she got more comfortable inside of the house. But that aside, I think that eventually someone showed up at this house, and at that point in time she was just very, very starving, very, very sick, and jetted right out of that house. It was her first opportunity probably in a long time to get out of there, and that home is probably somewhere here close by in my neighborhood. She probably realized what the situation was with the home that she was in and what had happened there with her being stuck in there and no one ever showing up until she was able to get out. And she probably took to wandering the neighborhood, wondering what she was going to do. And that led her to my home. I really believe that a lot because of her connection with me as a person and her disconnection with my home as a place. She just didn't like the doors being shut. Very, very often, as she would be indoors hanging out or anything like that, I would close the door, especially during the winter months and whatnot, and she would always constantly go to the door just to go walk out and look outside for a minute, go back out. She just wanted to be sure that that door was not going to stay closed. And that sort of thing remained with her all the way to the end. She was constantly like that. But she did grow more and more attached to the home and became more and more attached. And we really worked on that relationship. And she became a very, very valuable part of my life.
Hashtag the cat's life. What's going on, Bug?
Eventually, Bug got somewhat comfortable being inside. I say somewhat based on the fact that she did want to get out the door very often and as often as she can. She would allow herself plenty of time to take rest and naps and stuff like that. But as soon as she was aware, she'd be at the door, bugging you to open the door and let her out. Now, about her name. It's not necessarily the fact that she bugged a lot about going outdoors, but something that I think was maybe somewhat of a survival tactic for her at a certain point in time was eating bugs. And she ate almost every bug that came in front of her, and that really is, for me, I'm a person who doesn't necessarily enjoy the idea of killing bugs, and hearing the sounds that come along with that sort of thing, and it really kind of creeped me out a lot of times as she would sneak up on a bug in the house, take it into her mouth, and go at it. And that's pretty much exactly how I eventually gave her name, specifically came to Bug, because she enjoyed eating them, and as well as bugging me to get outside the door. It was one of the many different cool characteristics of her. One of the things that I really, really took to was the fact that she was just a beautiful, beautiful orange cat with these magnificent orange eyes. Just matched her completely. Just those eyes were amazing. It was just something, the way that she would connect with you when you looked at her eye to eye. And every now and then, when she was feeling really happy, you get the eventual wink. And it's just something I'll always remember about her. The orange tabby breed that she is. One of the things I did learn eventually as I got more and more interested about her, the cat was bred by Vikings, I guess, back in the day. So she eventually got the nickname the Viking Queen, and we called her the Queen Bee. And that was one of the many different nicknames, Bug, Bugaboo, but Queen Bee was the one that really stuck to her the most. Because if you saw her laying around or sitting around or watching around at all, you could tell she was a queen. So there are many, many things about her and her characteristics and things that she did that I'm going to really, really miss about not having her around and getting to see those sort of things, or getting to see her do those sort of things, like when she would roll her head as you walked up to her, just before she would roll herself completely over onto her back so that you could rub her belly. When she would if you didn't let her outdoors at night before going to bed, she would definitely wake you up sometime early in the middle of the night, early morning, to let her outside, because she didn't want to be in the house, of course, too much. You know, just the sound of her meowing, it's just something that's just things that will, I'm really gonna miss those nights in the summertime when we would hang out, especially out on the front road on the street there, in the middle of the night when it's really warm and the pavement's still really warm. She loved to get out there and roll around and, you know, get pet and everything right there in the middle of the street and look around and hang out together. It's just, you know, something that we got to do over the last couple of years that was really special, in those types of moments where you're connecting with your companion, whether it's a dog or a cat. You know, those sort of moments are really important to cherish and enjoy, and I hope you're enjoying many of those with your animals. And let's not forget that we do have Carl still around here in the alleyway, and he's a different character and he's a different cat, but you know what, this is his alleyway now, and we'll look forward to seeing him as we continue forward doing more episodes of our gardening channel here. So you know, in this kind of a loss and that sort of thing, there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to look back on and I'm going to think about, and as they happen, it's going to really kind of remind me of her, and I'm going to have to, you know, deal with those sort of things. So I know many people who are watching this video themselves have lost animals and can relate to what I'm saying, and maybe there's some people who don't necessarily understand that completely, but it's a very trying, emotional situation to go through. I mean, losing her was very tough, and it was probably more so tough to the fact that she didn't necessarily go out in old age as you would hope anybody or any animal to have happen for them. We all want to go out in our old age, but sometimes life is cut short by tragedy, and in this case is what made this one even especially harder to deal with, is it was a really tragic ending, and not exactly sure what happened to her specifically. When I got to look at her in her eyes, those last moments that she was around, I could tell that something was really wrong. And I wish that I was able to have gotten her to a sense of relief that she could have used if her passing was going to be eventual anyways, because of what I believe the injuries she sustained. But, you know, she was a cat. She was scared at the time. She ran off. Glad that she came back. She did come back home, and so even though what had happened to her was a very tragic situation, and that the last moments of her life were probably not very good at all, I like to think that in her 10, 11 years that I estimate that she got to live those last few years knowing that she was special, that she was very well cared for and looked after. And I like to think that she carries that along with her where she is today. She's enjoying the great cat world beyond, and eventually someday I'm going to be lucky enough to have her right by my side again. It's just going to be tough not having her around. I want to thank all of you guys for watching this video with me, and all of your wonderful comments that you've left for me on Facebook over the last couple of weeks. It's been really helpful for me dealing with this sort of thing. But you know, we're going to move on and we're going to get going we've got a lot of other things planned for the Urban Gardener and its channel, and we're going to get going here real soon. I've got some upcoming episodes coming up that are going to be really fun. We're going to go on another road trip here real soon, so a lot of real cool things to look forward to. So I'm sure, as Bug would want us to do, is to move on, be happy, and enjoy the fact that, you know, she'll always be in that alleyway. She'll always be with us, hanging out in our garden adventure here on the Urban Gardener. So, all in all, Bug was a great cat. She was a wonderful companion to have, and in her life and her memory we will have sustained here in our alleyway gardens. I've put a nice spot for her out there, for her to hang out with us for all eternity. This alleyway will be hers, and that'll be very special. And let's not forget the fact that we do have Carl. Carl's still around in our alleyways, and he'll be around for future episodes as we continue to move forward and move on in our garden adventure here. And it's just a blessing to have her here with us during the time that we did get to have her here. I want to thank all of you so much for tuning in with me for this special video, and to let me tell the story about my special friend. And hope you all really enjoyed it. Please give me a like. Give me a like on this video for Bug. And if you're all interested in seeing where we go, and if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, I hope you do, and follow along with what we're going to be doing in future episodes of the Urban Gardener. Look at this cat. What's this cat doing? What are you doing, Bug?
What's going on, sweetheart? Yeah?